Summer. Having observed the summer solstice, we have a 2-week period now where I'll be leading services solo until our new cantorial soloist joins us. Everybody's looking for a little bit more personal peace, especially on Shabbat. So we begin with Shalom Aleichem on page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni leshalom malachei hashalom malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Joining together in the Shabbat candle blessing on page 2. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner להדליק נר של שבת. Part of the Kabbalat Shabbat Psalms that includes Lecha Dodi and other welcome of the Shabbat songs also includes the 92nd Psalm on page 22. Mizmor Shir. Mizmor Shir liyom HaShabbat, Tov lehodot leHadonai, ulizamer l'shimcha elyon, ulizamer l'shimcha elyon. Try that. Mizmor Shir liyom HaShabbat, Tov lehodot leHadonai, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. From the beginning, מזמור שיר ליום השבת. טוב להודות לה' ולזמר לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך עליון. For our call to worship, the Baruch Hu, page 28, we rise. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Leolam Va'ed. Please be seated. We observed the summer solstice this week, the longest days of the year, the official changing of the seasons. We relate to that in the next prayer In English on page 31, praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. Also in English, the next prayer in the interpretive translation that we read responsively on the bottom of page 33. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. Then this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. This brings us to the Shema, and we join together. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Let's join in the V'ahavta just for a change in English in the translation on page 37. Together. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work. Whether you are tired or you are rested, let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. There's so many reminders of God, the power beyond us, leading us out of Egypt. And that's what we celebrate in the next prayer, Mi Chamocha. This is what our ancestors sang as soon as they crossed over to freedom. Page 40. Mi Chamocha bo'elim Adonai, Mi Chamocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot oseh fele, Nora tehilot oseh fele, Malchutecha rahu vanecha, Moke hayam lifnei Moshe Miriam, Zelianu ve'ameru, Adonai yimlok, Adonai yimlok, le'olam va'ed. ונאמר כי פד אדוני את יעקב וגואלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני קהל ישראל. There's a beautiful interpretive translation of the Hashkivenu prayer on page 43, the top. Let's read this together. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. On page 44, both choices are so nice you can't go wrong by singing either of these Shabbat songs, but less often, but now, we'll do the bottom song, Yismechu. Yismechu b'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Mikadeshei, Mikadeshei Shevi Shabbat, Kulam Yispehu, Yispu v'yitangu mituvecha Shabbat, Yismechu b'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. V'hashvi ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat, chemdat yamim, Oto karata zechel maaseh v'reishit, Yismechu b'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Pray as if everything depended on God. Act as if everything depended on you. For the Tefillah, Amidah prayer, page 46, we rise. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor HaNorah, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, Vekonei HaKol, Vezocher Hastei Havot Ve'imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, חיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה אליו, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. You may be seated. Page 57. רצה אדוני אלוהינו בעמך ישראל ותפילתם באהבה תקבל. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer, wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'odcha levadcha b'yir'ah na'avod. On the top of page 59, giving thanks together. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. We usually conclude the Amidah with the last prayer of this section, the Shalom Rav, but just to be a little bit different, the second to the last Hebrew prayer, which is on the previous page, page 58, is called Modim. And here's a contemporary melody. We've sung it a few times. It's easy. Modim anachnu lach she'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu le'olam va'ed tzor hayenu magen yishenu atahu ledor vador. Try it. Modim anachnu lach she'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu le'olam va'ed tzor hayenu magen yishenu atahu ledor vador. Now, at the end of the Amidah prayer, our thoughts turn to those of our loved ones in need of healing, be this healing of body or soul. I'd like to name my cousin Jonathan Miller, who just this morning underwent surgery across the river. And as I come around, if you would like to name anybody else from your loved ones, family, and friends, please do so. Of course, each and every week, without fail, we also mention those who remain captives, who are hostages, and we join together in our healing prayer. Mi sheberach avotenu Mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu Mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, and the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. As I think all of you know, we lost a beloved member of the congregation, Norman Rosen, whose funeral service took place here this morning. And his son Dan said at one point, my father was the kind of person who always saw the cup half full. Many of us, even if when we tend to sometimes slide into optimism, backslide into pessimism, and we begin to see the cup half empty. And for some of us, that's just our nature and our what is prevalent. And there's no question that the Israelite people, based on what we've been reading in the Torah, including this week, they're seeing the cup half empty. They're complaining nonstop to Moses and Aaron about everything. And once again in this week's Torah portion, Baha'alotecha, they say in Egypt, even though we were slaves, we had food, we had meat, we had this, we had that. And they were slaves. They couldn't see necessarily the better future. It was too early for that. So in this Torah portion, they're complaining bitterly that the little food they have is not tasty and not sustaining them. So this is the portion where God sends manna from heaven, thus the expression manna from heaven, and later on quail, as a matter of fact, birds. And for a time, they're happy and they're satisfied until the next incident. But as we pause to reflect this evening on this Shabbat, what can we do to maybe take one weight from the half empty and put it to the half full? How can we change the balance a little bit? What's one thing that we complain about that maybe we could turn into something remotely positive? We pause. Ose shalom bimroma uyase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'emeru amen. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. Just 2 weeks ago, we marked the 80th anniversary of D-Day. You may have seen some of the veterans going back, which might be for the last time because they're all about 100 years old now. And just this past week, I came across a story relating to that 80th anniversary. And I was very moved by the story. I wanted to share it with you this evening. I was really thinking about how much my father, who was a Korean War vet, and my father-in-law, who was a World War II vet, would have appreciated this story. And it's a few pages long, but I'm going to share it with you verbatim because I think the details are moving, as I said, and because the story unfolds basically in 3 acts, 3 stages. So this is Act 1. A Jewish American World War II hero who stormed Utah Beach on D-Day and went missing after being ambushed in the Battle of Cherbourg has finally been found in a German mass grave where he was buried with Nazis. Now, 8 decades after his death, on June 23rd, 1944, Lieutenant Nathan Baskin will finally receive a proper burial. Baskin, the son of Lithuanian and Russian immigrants who settled in Pittsburgh and owned a wallpaper business, was drafted into the Army in 1942 at the age of 26. He commanded 4 M10 tank destroyers, modified Sherman tanks, in the U.S. Army's 899th Tank Destroyer Battalion during the bloody D-Day invasion. After taking the beachhead, the Allied forces set their sights on the port city of, am I saying it right, Cherbourg? France. As U.S. troops engaged in fierce battles with Nazi soldiers who were ordered by Hitler to hold the city at all costs, Baskin went behind enemy lines, accompanied only by his driver on a reconnaissance mission. They were ambushed. The driver managed to get back to Allied lines despite being seriously wounded, and told how Baskin had been hit by machine gun and rifle fire and was presumed dead. U.S. troops conducted a thorough search of the area but found no trace of Lieutenant Baskin or his vehicle. He was listed as missing in action, and on July 13, 1944, he was promoted posthumously from 2nd to 1st lieutenant. He was also awarded a Purple Heart. And Baskin's name was added to the Wall of the Missing at the American Cemetery at Normandy. And what exactly happened to him would remain a mystery for 8 decades. That's the end of part 1. A tragic story. A tragic death, but missing in action. In 2022, a U.S. genealogist touring the German cemetery, a German cemetery, happened to notice that among the names of 17 German soldiers on a plaque at a burial mound, a mass burial mound, was one name that didn't seem to belong Baskin. He tipped off Operation Benjamin. I don't know if you've heard about this. This is a group of people based out of Yeshiva University that attempt to find soldiers who were missing, were not buried properly. The sleuths determined it would be the long missing lieutenant, and their senior genealogist, Rachel Silverman, got in touch with the German War Graves Commission called the Volksbund. They dug deep into archives and unearthed detailed documents that finally shed light on Baskin's fate. He was captured after getting shot and brought to the squalid Lufthansa hospital in Cherbourg, known for its deplorable conditions. He died the night of his capture. His remains were dumped in a mass grave with 24 German soldiers in the hospital's courtyard. And then in 1957, the mass grave was excavated and the remains combined with another mass grave 50 miles away at the German Marigny Cemetery. So it was there, beneath 3 Gothic crosses, that Baskin's remains were interred with 52 Nazi soldiers. German officials discovered his dog tag, a patch from the 899th Tank Destroyer Battalion, and Lieutenant bars. They notified the U.S. Army, which made 2 unsuccessful attempts to identify human remains in that grave. They were in very deteriorated condition. Baskin's family was informed that the body was unrecoverable, but they were never told that he was in a Nazi grave. You have a Jewish kid from Pittsburgh buried with these enemy soldiers, one of the genealogists told the Post, choking back tears. Rabbi Schachter, the rabbi in charge here, who teaches at Yeshiva University, became determined to recover Baskin's remains and bring him home to his family, his people, and his country. Their mission was personal. Rabbi Schachter's father, Rabbi Herschel Schachter, very well-known rabbi, was a battlefield chaplain in World War II and the first American rabbi to enter a concentration camp during the liberation of Buchenwald. The narrative of my childhood was helping soldiers and helping Jews, Rabbi Schachter said. I want to show, especially in today's climate, that Jews played a role in fighting for America and were prepared to give their lives for fighting. They had to navigate many obstacles over the next year. They had a cordial meeting with the German ambassador to Israel to seek permission to exhume in the mass grave. But not only did Germany decline to give permission, but one of Jerusalem's top rabbis, Rabbi Osher Weiss, would not sign off on the plan because, he said, there was no known precedent in Jewish law regarding exhuming and reburying partial remains. So Lamb and Schachter, the 2 people working on this, knew that they would only be able to positively identify a fraction of the bones due to their advanced state of decomposition and would have to leave the rest behind, which, as we just said, seemed to be a problem according to strict Jewish law. But then they caught what you might call a lucky break, because 2 researchers at Yeshiva University uncovered a halakhic opinion, a rabbinic responsa, published in 1908 by a Hungarian rabbi, saying that it was permissible, according to Jewish law, to exhume the foot of an amputee buried in a non-Jewish cemetery to rebury in a Jewish one. So they brought the opinion to Rabbi Weiss in Jerusalem to see if it applied to Baskin. They were stunned to learn that the author of the opinion in 1908, Rabbi Abraham Isaac Lick, was Rabbi Weiss of Jerusalem's great-great-grandfather. These researchers had discovered this halakhic opinion from this rabbi's great-great-grandfather. Well, Rabbi Weiss declared what they had in mind kosher, halakhic. So, on Memorial Day of last year, 2023, Schachter and Lamb, on an unrelated trip to Normandy and Brittany to install Jewish headstones at American cemeteries, led a delegation of Jews on a secret mission to Germany, to that cemetery, to visit the grave. They were the first Jews to visit his grave in 80 years. At his grave, they said the mourner's Kaddish and other traditional Jewish prayers. We were family, we were brothers, we were sisters. We will never forget you, Rabbi Schachter said in his eulogy. Meanwhile, a short time afterwards, the DNA lab results on the bone fragments came back, and they were 99.99% match with the DNA samples of Baskin's surviving family members. He had finally been found. The match was spectacular. It was the hand of God, said the rabbi. One of his survivors, a Professor Baskin, formally received her great uncle's Purple Heart from the Defense Department on May 22nd. And the German Army formally handed over the remains of Lieutenant Baskin to the U.S. Army in a ceremony at Ramstein Air Force Base on May 28th of last year. Act 3, right now. Tomorrow, on June 23rd, the 80th anniversary of his death, the American hero will be buried at the American Cemetery in Normandy with full military honors in a Jewish ceremony presided over by Rabbi Schachter. A total of 4,414 Allied troops were killed on D-Day itself, including 2,501 Americans. More than 5,000 were wounded in the ensuing Battle of Normandy. In that ensuing battle, 73,000 Allied forces were killed and 153,000 wounded. The Normandy American Cemetery honors the sacrifice of more than 9,000 U.S. service members, most of whom died on D-Day. Within the 172-acre cemetery is a memorial featuring the aforementioned Wall of the Missing. More than 1,500 names of soldiers whose remains were never found are inscribed on those walls. At the wall of the meeting, to signify that he is the 25th soldier to be recovered out of 1,551, Professor Baskin will insert a gold rosette with a red stone next to her uncle's name. Shabbat Shalom. For the Aleinu prayer, as we open the Ark, the bottom of page 282, please rise. Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נותן שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרוב השמיים עמך. שכינתו זו ושכינתו זו בגובי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו, ידעת היום בהשבות אל לבביך, היא אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת עינו. ונאמר, והיה אדוני המלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו On this Shabbat, we now call to mind in love and reverence those recently taken from our midst during the Shloshim, the 30-day period, Norman Rosen. And on this Shabbat, in love and reverence, the Yortzeit, the anniversary of the passing of Benjamin Waxman, father of Ronald Waxman, Bernard Pugash, father of Jody Pugash, and Blanche Pugash, mother of Jody, and Shulamit Mahala, mother of Hannah Benesh. For all those close to our hearts, and for all those for whom there may be no one to say Kaddish, we join in the Kaddish prayer on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma tivrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'hayachon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yittaleh v'yithalal shemei tekudesha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Amen. Please be seated. We had a successful congregational annual meeting, the 153rd such meeting on Thursday. We do have new officers about to assume their positions on July 1st, but our current president for the next week or two is out of town. And so we ask Doris White, who is our treasurer of the past and our treasurer of the future, continuing in the role, and so much else as well, to offer the announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. I have a card this time, so I won't mess up like I did last time. Rabbi, somehow the story you told related to the glasses half full, half empty. I really, it was a beautiful story. I was at that American cemetery.
Wow.
And there are crosses and Jewish stars, and no one would ever say a word. I mean, there is a sign that says silence, but you wouldn't even dream of, there's nothing to say. It's just such an awesome place. Yeah. So thank you so much always for giving us something to think about. Upcoming weeks, this Sunday at 3 o'clock, there'll be a concert in the sanctuary from the Recording Society. And there was one, the last time they did it, everybody really enjoyed it. They'll be playing music, Renaissance, Baroque, some Israeli, and some Yiddish. Of course, they'll have the recorders, but I understand there'll also be a harp, so it should be a very nice thing. 3. Thank you, Judy. Okay, July 5th at 6, right, will be our second outdoor service, and it will be the first service of our new cantor soloist, Susie Merritt. So we all look forward to hearing her and another nice outdoor service. Hopefully we'll be able to stay outside. And July 8th is the book group. The book is An After the Fire by Lauren Belfer. And this is about a fire, it's actual, at Seton Hall University. So I hope that people will read it and come. And Gesher Shalom has invited us to a barbecue August 4th. And please save the date. We'll have more information as that comes about. And thank you, Jody, for the oneg. And thank you, Dylan, for not only streaming, but tonight, above and beyond. Save the day. Shabbat Shalom.
We'll conclude our service with what I think is a familiar Shabbat melody, Ein Keloheinu. It's on page 322. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Mi Eloheinu, Mi Kadonenu, Mi Kemalkeinu, Mi Kemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. Shabbat Shalom.